Yeah, there's something else that is related on the decentralized level, on the elections bill, which I'm sure Gambia participants is very interested in, the attestation matter. We've seen that National Assembly members have decided to go ahead to maintain, that attestation protest process has always been a contentious issue. Election Watch, I'm sure you're also interested in this. What's your position on this? Especially given that yourself, your government participants and partners went to court with regard to this attestation matter. Yes.
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you. I am your Commandant Coordinator AWSA. On the issue of the attestation, but before coming to the attestation, let me first possibly say a little bit on the diaspora voting. Being a logistical nightmare, if we have Badibunkers in the hall here, going to Badibu to vote is already a nightmare. How do they get the ballot drums to Badibu here, knowing fully well that young people protested at some point when the ferry was not going? Yeah. So how did they manage to get the ballot drums to Badibu for them to vote? That's already a nightmare. So getting into extending it to diaspora to vote is about strategizing, just like you strategize to get it from Kanifing all the way to Badibu or get it to Kiang. Not those on the road, but Kiang West, if you've been there, you know how that place is like. But we managed to have everybody participating in and voting in the electoral process. But also, elections don't come cheap. That we need to understand as a country. For us to exercise our franchise, that's the right to vote, it doesn't come cheap anywhere. We'll have to provide the resources. If it is not available, the IEC and the Assembly is supposed to look around the means of raising those resources to making sure people definitely exercise that right to vote. It is one that we should all hold dearest to our heart. On the issue of the attestation, I would say it's when the issue came up, we just had a small reflection around it, yet to develop a second position paper to that effect. But I think this is like knowing the way the assembly operates or following on some of the other contentious bills. This was some sort of a series that they were playing. Let's do some sort of a distraction mechanism. Diaspora will get their attention, but one area that was very contentious is the use of attestation. This was not only challenged before the election day. During the process, Gambia participants, activists, and some other youth groups went to court to challenge it. The EWC observed the process, and we've seen minors registering in high numbers, alleged known Gambians registering in high numbers, and we've seen the disparity from the presidential elections to the parliamentary. And even on election day, when some opposition groups came together to say the election was not free and fair because foreigners were registering foreigners were voting on the day. So having the attestation being issued by Alkalos, we know a lot of the Alkalos in most of the communities are, let me say, all the Alkalos are appointed through a process which is political. From the Alkalos issuing attestation to the chiefs issuing attestation, which are also the same line political. So how do we make that process very, very transparent? It's just going by the ID card, the passport, that we know there are controls and checks. But with the use of attestation is one that I am sure we'll have a broader reflection on, as we have done with the diaspora voting. We'll provide another position paper on, and we'll do another follow-up engagement to making sure that if we want possibly at least a sanitized election process with a credible voter list that we'll all be very satisfied with, the issue of attestation should be a thing of the past. If I can just give an example of the elections watch observing in one of our observation days, this is in the town, at Ojoson Primary School. Every individual that registered from 8 a.m. all the way to 4 p.m. uses attestation. Yeah. And this was flat. You cannot tell me just one closest to Banjo, another very closest to Cardiff Irrigation Center. No individual has an ID card or a birth certificate. Or a birth certificate. Just one has a health center that issues birth certificate. So the mind cannot take it that you can tell me people in that community where I am from, ironically, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., all the people that registered, no individual has these three documents. Everybody is to be an Alkalos attestation. How do we explain that? There is something fundamentally not right. So to get that right, I think the issue of attestation should be another one that we should be making noise about. We should come up with position paper, and definitely it's something that we should look at before the next electoral cycle.
Yes, I think young people have already talked about that. We have advanced as a country, right? We've become more civilized, and we have incorporated new digital registration, especially birth registration system in our country. Not long ago, was it a year or two, the Minister of Health was rolling a new birth register system, right, which is very advanced. So
Electronic.
and also electronic. They went every part of this country to register people, and still the registration, I believe, is ongoing. If you have a child, or you lost your birth certificate, there are procedures in attaining your birth certificate, which is a very standard and good practice. And it requires you to present certain documents. For example, a document of your a parent or so that shows that you are a Gambian. The attestation doesn't do that. Look. We also need to understand when this issue of attestation was also being drawn, the history of it. 1996 or prior, right? Development and economic activities were organized in the Gambia, right? Those in the protectorate or rural communities were marginalized and not having access to these issues. So it was reasonable at the time for those in the rural communities where the settlements were very small, and Alkalos, as custodian of the land, knows every single family because the population in those communities were very small. They know whoever is coming to a village, they go to the Alkalo, greet, and Alkalo asks them what is their origin, blah, blah, blah. And if you also want to know the history of a village and families, Alkalos will tell you they're more like custodian of the tradition, not only land, but also maintaining family ties. They know who is who. Right now, it is practically impossible for the Alkalo to know every single individual in the village and to attest that that person was born and raised or was born in that particular settlement. It's not possible. So I think parliamentarians should do away with the attestation. The birth register is still ongoing. If you don't have a birth certificate, it has to be mandatory. In fact, in our 2021 case, that's what the judge said. It was in fact a criminal act for those in Banjul and Janjanbureh not to be registered, not to have a birth certificate. It was a criminal act. I believe it was a 1950 act. So right now, if you don't have a birth certificate, go to the center closer to you and then register for it. Today, when the government have signed this deal with Spain and UAE, everyone is rushing for a passport because that's a requirement before you can travel.
More than 10,000 Gambians.
So why not for a birth certificate in order to be registered? But I think if you want to have a credible election, the voter register must be clean and credible. If it is not, then it's the question that election could be questionable.
So thank you. I think finally, because if we don't have any question, we'll allow Yankuba, the PWC. Earlier on, I said Gambia participate was as part of the PWC. No, they are partners, but not a member. So that is the clarification I want to do. So, and he was the former commissioner of the CRC. And he's still a commissioner. Once a commissioner is always a commissioner. So we will allow him to do maybe Mark, you can switch.
Sure.
Yeah, so that he can do the
Full of times I can do it from here.
no, for the mic.
You have to take the center.
Yeah, for the microphone. Yeah.
I know you don't like taking center.
Okay. Good afternoon once again. This time around, I'm giving a very simple task. That is to thank you for coming. Just to say thank you. But as we go on, like Uncle Sal said, the media is the fourth estate. We count on your continuous support in disseminating this information to the whole Gambian public. The journey of building a better Gambia does not only stop with the activists, does not only stop with the CSO organizations. The media play a bigger role in disseminating the information and making sure that the hard to reach and even those that are not within the confines of these organizations all get that information. We appreciate your participation in this press conference. The call was very late. Under 24 hours, all of you are able to respond to the call. That shows how much interest you have in the process. And we thank you sincerely for honoring this call. We will do another call. We'll keep engaging all of you. And we believe and we hope that this process will be more engaging, and we'll try as much as possible to not only engage with the National Assembly members, but as well the communities, which you have a good audience and a good coverage of, is building the future of the Gambia. This is beyond the assembly members that are sitting in the assembly. The 53, 58 of them that are in that assembly is beyond them. They are representing us in that place. So it's important we do things that reflects our wishes and our aspirations of the Gambia that we want. And to get a broader public engagement on is through the media houses. And today that you are here, we believe you continue carrying that message across. And from the Gambia participates the Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice, and as well the Elections Watch Committee, which is a consortium of 7 youth organizations being hosted by Peace Ambassadors, the Gambia, Activista, National Youth Parliament, Think Young Women, B. Kanyang, and as well the Gambia Federation of Disabled, forming that consortium, looking towards promoting the integrity of the electoral processes. We appreciate your coming, and we want to say thank you. And that's what I am tasked to do, to thank you for coming.
Thank you, Commissioner. And this one was very prompt. And then I think now I'm proud of the civil society taking a proactive step, not just waiting for donors to come and support. Sometimes we don't just need to focus on donor-centered stuff. We've seen the economic realities now. US aid, whatever aid, are trying to cut off aid. So sometimes it's not about just the aid that you get. So on that note, it's like we just came and then formed this family to ensure that everyone is on board and then the message is shared, probably as time goes by. So on that note, thank you. And I will share with you the position paper. You can just link me up and then I can share with you. Yeah, so thank you all, please, for your kind attention.
Mr. President,